there, folks. This is Casual Gamer here, and welcome to Casual Gamer's Guide to Goose Hunting for Beginners. Today, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about how to set up, your goose setups. How to hunt them, what strategies to use, where to place your setups, everything you need to know. How to get proficient at it. I will leave no stone unturned. So, one of the most commonly asked questions for Call of the Wild players is, how do I make cash fast? And that's an understandable question. The developers of this game have a long-term playing strategy. Call of the Wild isn't a game that you're only going to play for a year and get bored with it and move on to something else. They're not going to come out with new versions of Call of the Wild every year. They do come out with 2 different maps a year, which is great. But the developers have a long-term strategy in mind. By design, they charge a lot for each thing that you buy. If you notice, like the 300 Magnum, for example, is 75,000 in-game cash, and you have to kill, quite a few animals, depending on what you're hunting, in order to collect 75,000 in cash. The 7mm, 36,000. The 4570 is 48,000, right? And for a lot of players, including myself, I like to have tents. You can have up to 16 tents on each DLC map that you buy. You can put up to 16 tents. Well, if you do the math on that, 16 tents times 16,000 a piece, that's 256,000 in-game cash to completely fill a map to its max capacity with tents, right? Tripods. A lot of people like to use tripods. You can put up to 32 tripods on each map. 16,000 a piece. That's 500,000 in-game cash to fill a map up with tripods. So, if you want to do this, if you have all the maps and you want to put a lot of things on them, tents, tripods, tree stands, whatever, it's going to cost a considerable amount of in-game cash. So, grinding for cash becomes a necessity. There is no better way to grind for cash than goose hunting. The way they have it set up now, the way they used to do it, let's go to the map. The way they used to do it, when goose hunting first came out, the geese would spawn in and they would fly in a set path. Maybe it would be they'd spawn in here and they'd fly in this direction. Maybe they would spawn in here and fly in that direction. Maybe they'd spawn down here and fly this direction. It was totally random. As far as that was the general consensus among the players, was that they were spawning in randomly. Well, they fairly recently changed that in 2021. They have, as far as I can tell, changed that so that the geese spawn in the vicinity of the player. Now, you may have to call them in with your caller. If they're not headed in your direction, you may have to use the caller to get them to come your way. But they do tend to spawn in somewhere in the vicinity of the player. Now, the beautiful thing about that is with the old style, you were averaging somewhere between 4, 5, maybe 6 flocks per hour. And if you got good at it, you could average, you could take out an entire flock between the shotgun and the 22. So you could get up to 8 geese per flock, maybe 10. But on average, you could probably average 8. And if you got 5 flocks per hour, you could make 40,000 in real life hours for every hour you were hunting geese. So it was still a pretty good way to generate cash. But the new system, you can get 10 to 15 flocks per hour. The downside to getting that many flocks is sometimes you're going to have 2 flocks, maybe even 3 flocks that all come in at the same time. And I've never been able to take out more than 10 or 11 before they're too far away to hit anymore, or they get out of render distance. So even with the new system, even though you're getting more 10 to 15 flocks per hour, you're probably going to average less geese per flock, at least on average. So, but you can still make 40, 50, even 60,000 per hour once you get proficient at it, no problem. So the next thing we want to talk about is the loadout. When you buy the Goose DLC, you're going to get a layout blind. This Incognito Deluxe layout blind. You get your first one for free. You'll get decoys. You'll get, I think you get 4 per type. You get your sentries, your searching, and your feeding. So you get 12 decoys, and then after that, if you notice, the effect of the multiple decoys in the same area stacks up to a max of 20 decoys. So you'll get 12 to start, which is fine. It works pretty good, but your max effect is going to be at 20 decoys. So you're going to end up spending another 8,000 for your first setup. But you can make that back with geese in no time flat. It's really not a big deal. I do recommend that you have tents, so that if you look, let's go to the map. Right, what I want to do is when I come into Hirschfelden to hunt geese, I want to be able to come right to one of my goose setups and hunt them, and then if I run out of ammo, I don't have to go very far to get it, whatever. So I would recommend starting off at Schoenfeld, and the reason why I recommend starting off at Schoenfeld is, for one, if you don't have tents, you're not that far away. You get there relatively quickly. But for 2, this is a really good beginning setup. It's nice and open. You can set your decoys up and your layout blind up. There's a fair decent amount of distance between this setup and the tree line, which gives you more time to get the geese taken out. But I also have a setup in Rathenfeld, and I have a setup up here in Muellerveld. So as far as I can tell, there isn't much difference between spawn rates between anywhere you can set them. I do believe that they spawn in based on where you're at. So I don't think it matters. You could set it up here, you can come up here, you can go over here. I think the spawn rates are going to be similar no matter where you set up. The one difference that I am noticing is that currently I have somewhere in the vicinity of 15 diamonds for geese, and a vast majority of them, about 75% of them, have come out of Rathenfeld. Now, I don't know if that's just coincidence. Maybe that's just coincidence. They don't really, the developers don't really publish, their how things spawn, exactly how the diamonds work, or they don't come out and say that. They leave it up to the players to figure it out, kind of guess, make their best guesses at how these things work. But they don't come out and just say it. So, but I have taken a vast majority of my diamonds out of Rathenfeld. So back to the loadout. When you first buy the DLC, you're going to get access to these shotguns here. These Strecker 20 gauge Fiona, Hazel, and Raven shotguns. They're double barrels, so you get 2 shots per shotgun. I do believe that you get access to birdshot right away with the 20 gauge, so you don't have to build up enough points if you're not max level or whatever. Normally you have to earn your way up to getting birdshot and slugs. You start off with only buckshot, but when you buy the DLC, I'm pretty sure if don't quote me on this. I could be wrong, but I believe that you do get bird shot that you can use right away for hunting geese. Right? I also strongly recommend, that you get 22. 22 is a great asset for goose hunting. So, you can hunt with the shotguns right away, but having the 22, I prefer the rifle over the pistol. But the pistol does work. It's just a little bit more challenging with the pistol than it is the rifle. So I do recommend having the 22 for hunting geese. So what you want to do if you've got the 20 gauge double barrels, right? So let's say the geese come in and you let them land or whatever. You'll take 2 shots with the 120 gauge, and then you'll switch over to your next one, take 2 shots, and then hopefully you have the 22, and then you can finish them off with the 22. I don't recommend reloading, because the reloading takes a lot of time, but you can switch relatively fast, and that way you want to the goal is to take as many of the geese out as you can, as close to your layout blind as you can, right? The further the geese get away from your layout blind, the longer it takes to track them down, and the more of a chance that while you're off tracking the geese down, you're going to have another flock come in, and so you want to take them out as close to the blind as you can. So there's several different strategies that you can use when the geese are coming in, right? I don't recommend. I've hunted multiplayer with goose hunting, a number of times, and I can't tell you how many times I've been hunting with somebody, and as soon as the geese get overhead, they start shooting, and you can do that, but that's not a good strategy, because the geese fly pretty fast, and they're going to be out of range before you know it. So you want to let the geese come in, and it usually takes. You have to be kind of patient. There's some geese flying in over there. Now, for some reason, I think my success rate with calling them in. If you notice, they're in a perfect triangle pattern right there. You can't even shoot them with the 22, as far as I can tell, when they're in that pattern. You have to. The only thing you can do is call them to get them to break that pattern. But for some reason, lately, it doesn't seem to be working that well. If you notice there, I called them and nothing happened. So it used to work almost every time, but lately it's just, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I don't know what the deal is with that. But normally when they come in, they're already broke, and they're already intending to come in and land at your around your decoys. So a lot of times you don't even have to use the caller at all. So, but you can from time to time just throw out a call. If they're within 500 yards, or I think it's 500 yards or 500 meters, the caller does work that far away. So putting out an occasional call doesn't hurt, right? But the strategy is to let them descend and get within range, within shotgun range. The shotgun's usually good up to about 100 yards. Once you get more than 100 yards with bird shot, it becomes pretty much, little to no effect. So once they get more than 100 yards, you want to switch to your 22 and just start using that. But you want them to come in nice and close before you start shooting them with the 12 gauge or with your shotgun. One strategy is to let them land, right? The downside to that, though, is they're going to fly up in whatever direction they happen to be facing when you start shooting is the direction they're pretty much going to fly in. And if that is towards the tree line, then you're going to want to take those out first. Anything going towards the tree line, you want to take those out first. Because once they get beyond that tree line, you're not going to be able to see them and aim and, you know, shoot them very effectively. So the other strategy is to start shooting when they're headed towards an open area. So you want them to come in nice and low, but I'll try to do it with these geese here that are coming in. You know, I'll start shooting them when they're flying in, but you also want to spot. You want, oh, I was hitting the wrong button. That's a 3, 6 to 7 trophy, 5 to 6 trophy, 4 to 5 trophy. So if you want to, you know, look for any potential diamonds, 4 to 5, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. So I don't have anything that's even close to diamond potential. So but now they're heading in a direction I like, so I'm going to start shooting them now. That way I can have more time to take them out. And you can take your time when you're shooting. You don't have to pop off as many shots as possible. You want to try to get a feel for what direction to lead them in, and just, you know, take your shots kind of when you feel like you got a good chance of hitting them. You want to make every shot count. That should be your goal every time you take a shot with either the 22 or the shotgun. Just go ahead and take your time. You don't have to be in a huge hurry. You know, you do have a couple of minutes before they're going to be out of range. So as you can see, I was able to take out, you know, all of the geese before they got even, you know, they were just barely starting to get out of shotgun range by the time I, you know, took out all of these geese. So once you get good at it, you can be pretty efficient with it. And it does take time. So the idea when they're really close with the shotgun, you don't have to lead them really at all. You know, so you're gonna take your shotgun, and you know, you pretty much cover the goose with the shotgun and you'll hit them every time. Pretty much just cover the goose when they're close. Once with the shotgun, once they get more than 55 yards away, that's when you're gonna want to start leading them a little bit. When they get closer to 100 yards, you're gonna have to lead them a little bit more. It's never, so long as they're within shotgun range, you never want to lead them too much, but you do have to lead them a little bit once they get, you know, a little further away. With the 22, I mean, it's all based on feel, you know. When they're about that distance away, you know, you want to lead them, like, you have to look at their angles. So if they're flying directly away from you, and they're not ascending, then you're going to shoot underneath their tummy, and they'll fly into the bullet, right? But if they are ascending, you're going to aim above their heads just a little bit. If they're flying left to right, you're going to aim to the right and let them fly into the bullet. If they're heading right to left, then obviously you're going to aim a little bit to the left. Now, when you're claiming the geese, I like to keep this view opened up because I'm looking to see what their trophy rating is, and then I'm also looking to see if they have, you know, if they're a hybrid or if they're a leucistic, or, you know, and I can just do that visually by looking at the bird, you know, you know, I can tell pretty quickly what it is. Now, I'm off. Okay, so I'm gonna lay down because I'm not in my blind, but if I lay down, I should be able to get them to land without spooking if the collar works. And like I said, they're in their V pattern, and for some reason that seems to be glitching out. Right now, for some reason, it just doesn't work that well. So I don't know why that is. Hopefully the developers will get on that and get that fixed with a patch at some point. Now, this Tuesday, they're coming out with a huge patch. There's a lot of excitement in the community. Apparently, according to what I'm hearing, there's supposed to be a great one The hints that the developers are giving suggest that there's going to be a great one coming out on Tuesday, and you can hunt them on either Hirschfelden, this map, or Te Awaroa. And the consensus seems to be that if you can hunt them on both of those maps, it's probably either a fallow deer or a red deer great one coming. So a lot of people are excited about that. Me personally, I'm not at the point where I'm trying to hunt great ones yet. I don't have all that many diamonds, so I'm still focused on getting it. I haven't gotten a diamond plains bison yet, and I'd like to have one of those. I don't have a diamond Cape buffalo. I like the bigger game. I don't have a diamond Cape buffalo. I don't have a diamond lion. I don't have a diamond. There's a lot of animals that I just don't have diamonds for. So it doesn't make sense to me to focus on a great one when there's so many diamonds that I don't have. So, but a lot of people do have it, and so that's where their focus is. And I don't blame people for being excited about that. It's something new. All right, so let's see. We got, what do we have here? 5 to 6, 7 to 8. That's a pretty good one, but he's not high enough to go diamond probably. Got a 3, got a 2. Yeah. So I don't think there's any diamond potential geese here. So personally, I don't really worry too much. Now, if you're trying hard to spawn in diamonds, then I would make sure to take out the 4. So that one's the 4 there. You want to take out as many 4s as you can, to try to spawn in a 5, and get a diamond. But I'm personally just I'm just here for the cash, so I don't really care. I've got enough diamond geese. I think I've got 15 or 16 diamond geese. I don't really care about having more. So another great thing about goose hunting is that you can do this passively. And when I say passively, what I mean by that is you could read a book, sit there and open up the game, get in your layout blind, and then start reading a book. And then when you hear the geese come in, then you come into the game and take them out, right? So that's another amazing way to hunt geese. You don't have to sit here and be bored for who knows how long. You can just take out take them out. Just kind of, play the game passively, and I think that's one of the greatest things about goose hunting is you can kind of multitask. I'm not sure why I'm missing, but the 22 shots do take a little bit of feel. There we go. But once you get used to it, you can get really good at it and get to the point to where you're only taking 1 or 2 shots per goose, even when they're fairly far away. They're calm, so I'm not going to start shooting. Just wait for them to come in. Now, you can tell if the geese are not going to come in. If it says alert or attentive, they will calm down, and so you don't necessarily have to, panic. And if they're calm, they're definitely coming in. If they're attentive or alert, they will calm down, so long as you don't make any sudden movements. But if they say defensive, you might as well pull out your 22 or whatever and just start shooting at them. So on this one, what I'm gonna try to do is to start shooting when they're flying in the direction that I want. That's a fairly good strategy. It doesn't always work depending on where their pattern starts, where their descent pattern starts. But like, for example, with this flock, now might not be a horrible time to take them out, because I think they're going to be heading in the wrong direction when they go into their final, landing part of their landing pattern. I don't think it's going to be a convenient direction. actually, it won't be too bad. They're going to be heading directly my way, I think, pretty much. So I'm going to wait until the last one gets there. Yeah. Switch. Yeah, see, it didn't really work. Where are you at? There they are. So I'm going to switch to 22 and just take out these last few. Where's the last one? There it is. Now, if they're flying directly away from you, the idea is to aim directly under their bellies, so long as they're not ascending. If they're ascending, you aim just above their heads. If they're traveling left to right, you're going to aim a little bit to the right. If they're traveling right to left, you aim a little bit to the left. But mostly it's just a feel thing. It's just something you're going to have to get used to. The other thing I recommend is if you have zeroing, if you look at my zeroing there, whatever zeroing you prefer, I would pick it and leave it at that zeroing. Right? I don't ever change it. I leave it zeroed at the furthest distance. And whatever zeroing you have, if it's the furthest distance for one gun, it's the furthest distance for all. So just bear that in mind. So I like to leave it at the furthest, and then because you want to get used to it. The other thing is you pick like if you're using the 22, I keep it zeroed all the way out. I don't keep it zoomed in. I have it all the way back, and I usually just leave that because you want it to feel the same with every shot you take. Trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. Yeah, I think I've got it pretty much covered. Now you start with one. I would start with Schoenfeld. This is a really good location because if you look, I like to have my setups on the top of a hill, and with Schoenfeld, it's a fairly decent distance between this tree line. So I think Schoenfeld is the best location to start with, and then as time goes on, you can add more setups. I have 3 that I use regularly. The only difference that I can tell is that between all the spawn rates seem to be similar. I'm not noticing any difference on the number of flocks that I'm seeing per hour for any location that I'm at. I do believe that the geese spawn in centered around the player as far as I can tell. So no matter where you're at, it's going to be a good location. The one difference I'm seeing is that 75% of my diamonds have come out of Rathenfeld. I don't know if that's coincidence. Maybe it's coincidence. Or maybe there's something in the algorithm that causes that. I don't really know. But I do know that out of I think I've got like 15 or 16 diamonds, 11 or 12 of them have come out of Rathenfeld. And I've taken out 3 diamonds in one day out of Rathenfeld. So it does seem to me like for some reason more diamonds spawn out of Rathenfeld, but again, that could be a coincidence. Other than that, I would say that when you're taking your shots, just take your time with each shot. With the shotguns, you're going to want to cover the goose with the barrel of the shotgun so that you pretty much can't see any of it, and you will hit that goose pretty much every time. And with the shotgun, once it gets more than 55 or 60 yards away, you do have to lead them a little bit, just a little. But I definitely take your time. You can easily take out, on average, the flock sizes are about 8 geese per flock. I usually wait until I've got 3 to 4 flocks on the ground before I go around and start picking them up. I like to leave the image like this so so that I can look here to see if it's a diamond, and I look here to see if it's a rare. And you can tell by looking at the, the feathers. You don't necessarily have to look at the words. But outside of that, I think that's about all of the information you need for goose hunting. So with that being said, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.